Hi guys, this is Leela. Welcome to my channel Leela WebDev. In this video, we will learn about the another instruction or the parameter that is nothing but expose. So what is this expose parameter? Let's try to see about this one. The expose instruction is a Docker file directive. We can say it is a Docker file directive or instruction, anything you can say. Use it to declare which ports an application running within a container might listen on. So for example, let's say that you are having an Nginx container. Okay. So Nginx container is a port which you will be trying to have. And you know that, okay, and you know that what you will be having, the Nginx container will listen to the default port 80. And you will be trying to tell when you are trying to build a custom build. So you are trying to tell that what is the port it is trying to listen. So you can try it as expose 80. So like this you will mention. So that means, it will try to declare which ports an application running within a container might listen on. So you will be thinking that these are the ports need to be opened. So these are the ports that the application will try to listen. It essentially serves two primary purposes. So what is the reason? So for example here, okay, fine. So I am telling that I am writing an image build, and in that image build I am telling that okay, this image build, when you are trying to create a container using this image build, so this is the port we should keep it open, or this is the port which the application will be trying to listen on. So this is the information this expose will try to give. Now what I am trying to tell is, so it serves, so if you mention this one means it serves two purposes. Okay, for two purposes, so we will try to use this one. So one is documentation. Okay, so one is the documentation. So what is this one is, so documentation it will try to. So expose acts as a documentation for the image maintainer and the users. So if you try to mention that one in the image Docker file, so it acts as a documentation, so that when you are trying to check this Docker file or anything, they will able to understand that okay, if we create a container using this image will means, then this is the port it will be exposed. And it clarifies the intended communication channel for the containerized application. So that means what is the communication channel for the containerism, for the containers which has been created by these images. So it will create as a documentation, so that we will be able to understand. The second one is network configuration hint. So when you run a container from an engine with expose, from an image with expose, so that means when you are trying to create a container from an image which is having a expose instruction, Docker takes note of these ports. So whatever the ports you are trying to expose it, Docker takes note of these ports. And this information is used by some Docker tools and orchestration tools like Docker Compose, so which we will try to learn afterwards. So these will be used by some external tools or some not external tools, some other third-party tools, something like the Docker Compose, to facilitate easier networking configurations. So in order to have a network, establish the networking configurations, so this expose will be used. And another one is, which I want to tell you, is the key points to remember. Okay, so key points to remember. So when you are trying to use this expose parameter in the image build, so you need to understand these key points. So what is this key points is, first one is no automatic publishing. Okay, no automatic publishing. Expose does not automatically publish the ports to the host system. For example, let's say that you have created an expose. So you have added the expose instruction in the Docker file. Now it does not automatically publish the port. So that means when you're trying to create a container with container Docker container run like that, so by reading this exposed port, so it will not directly open the port to the host system. So you need to mention it there using the -p option. If you don't mention this -p option, means that the port will not be listened. Just it serves as a documentation or metadata to indicate that this is the port that will be handled by the host system, handled by the container. It merely declares the intention that these ports will be used. So just we are telling that we are declaring that these ports will be used to make them accessible from outside the container. You need to explicitly publish them during the container runtime. So if you want to access the container outside, means you need to explicitly publish them using the -p option, port forwarding, we need to do it. And the another one is port flexibility. So you need to understand about this one also, port flexibility. The application within the container does not have to strictly adhere to these ports. For example, let's say that Nginx container, so we know that it will listen to the 80 port. So we have written expose 80 port. So that means you don't think that the current container you are trying to create using this image, so does not strictly follow this port. So if you want in the container run, you can change the port, but listed in the expose, but it can still be bind to different ports, and expose acts as a suggestion or the guideline. That's it. So expose will act as a suggestion guideline only, but but there is no rule that if you mention the expose 80 means then we need to create must and should the container with the port 80 means. That is not the issue. So you can create with any port. And another one is, so you can add multiple ports. So you can list multiple ports using expose separated by spaces. So that means if you want 2 ports means, so here you can mention it like this with the space. So that's not a problem. So image building and the exposing. So during the image build process, the expose instruction is simply recorded as the metadata within the image. It doesn't impact the build itself. So that means I am trying to tell from first onwards. So now you are building the image. So you have written the expose 80 something like that and you are building the image. The expose instruction is simply recorded as a metadata. Okay, so that within the image, it doesn't impact the build itself, but it is embedded in the image configuration. So it does not impact anything container creation. So expose becomes, so we can create the container with another port also. So I will try to show you that one how we can create it. So now let's try to check it in our practically. So for example, let's say that here this is our thing, right? I am opening the Docker file. Okay. So this is, oh sorry, this is my mistake. Okay, this is our Docker file and this is our complete Docker file. So here what I will try to do, so let's say that it is exposing expose, okay, and it is exposing 8090, let's assume. So this is the port which it will be exposing and I have saved it. So now I am trying to build this file. So here I am building this image. So let's build this image. Now we are giving an instruction that the image the container who are creating with this image means, so they will, so we are giving a guideline that the container will listen to the port 8090. Okay, so that is the thing which we need to learn. So now let's try to create the container. So here we are trying to create the container. Let's try to check Docker container ps-a. So these are all the containers which we are having it, right? Let's try to remove these all the containers. Docker container. So how many containers are there? I don't know. Why I have created this one all? Ubuntu-org, Ubuntu-org1, Ubuntu-test1. Test is also there. No, test1. Ubuntu-test2. Test2. So let's try to create first these all things. Now again we will try to do it. So here we are having another one. So I will come back after deleting all this. So I have deleted, guys. Now what I am trying to do it is, so we are having the image, right? Docker container. Okay, Docker container. And what I am trying to do, so we are having run command, detach mode I am doing, and I am giving the port. So here I am using the capital P. So what is the meaning of this capital P is, so whatever the port this container is trying to listen. So we have mentioned in the expose thing, right? And the Docker container randomly will take the maximum port number and it will assign to the expose parameter which we have mentioned. That is nothing but 8090 port, I think. Now let's try to check it. Docker container run -d -p and we need to give the name. So here Ubuntu-container 1 and the image name. So that's it, -p. Now if you try to create it, now the thing has been created. Now if you try to check here Docker container ps-a, now here you will be able to see 32768 is the maximum port number which it is trying to do it, and it is assigning to the 8090. So who has told about this 8090 port? It is the Docker is trying to read it from the image Docker file 8090. So which we have mentioned it. For example, if I try to create without any expose parameter, for example, let's say that I will try to create without any expose parameter. So Docker container 2. Now here, first of all, what we will try to do it is, so first of all, let's go to the Docker file. So I will go to the Docker file. Okay. And here I will remove this expose. So I will try to show you without expose how it will be. So here I am removing this expose and I will be building this file. Okay, so I will build this file. Build this file means what I mean to say is, yeah. So I will build this file. So it may take some time. Now I will try to create a container. Okay, so here I will create the container -demo -d and container 2. Okay, so let's try to create it. Now it has been created. Now let's try to check Docker container ps-a. Now if you try to see here, So we are able to see the port here, but here the port is not available for this one. Why? Because the Docker cannot able to find, and we have also doesn't mention anything in the -p option. So that means it doesn't know about the information about this port. So that's why it is not showing any port. For this reason, what I will try to do it is, so now I will go to the Docker file and I will enable this one. Okay. So now whether you use this port or not, that is up to your choice. So just you are mentioning that whoever creates a container using this image, so they will use the port. So we are giving a documentation. Now I will try to create the same another container, that is nothing but document-container, ubuntu-container 3. Now if you try to press enter, now another port has been, now another container has been created. Now if you try to check docker container ps-a, now here you will be able to see that the port is listening to 1890. So how the container is able to know? This time this ubuntu container 3 and now ubuntu container t with the same image we have created, right? Why? Because so this is reading from the expose parameter. So whether you use it or not, that is up to yours. So but here the Docker is assuming that this container will use 1890 port. And here you are port forwarding that one to 32768. That is nothing but -P option means let the Docker decide the port number which we need to expose it. So for example, if you want to mention your own means, then what you need to do it is, so here you can use something like small p. So we will be using small p and it should listen to something like 1990 port to 1890 port. So 1890 port is nothing but our container, okay, our expose parameter which we have used it. Now if I try to press enter, okay, so the container is already existing. So 4 I am using it. Now if you try to check ps-a, now you will be able to see that 1990 port is listening to 1890. So here this is not a mandatory that the container created should listen to the 1890 port, that means which we have written in the Docker file. That is not the should. Now if you try to create a container, so now I am trying to use the something around 1990 only, okay. So 1991 I want to listen. So now if you press enter, sorry. So here I can create another container. Now container 5 port is already allocated, okay. So 1990 port we have already allocated, right? So I will try to give it to 1994. Now if you try to create it, oh sorry, Ubuntu container has been created. So now if I try to do it, now if I press enter, now the container is created. So now if you try to do this one, see here this time you will be able to see 1990 port is listening to the, where is this one? Yeah, 1990 port is listening to the, 1994 port is listening to the 1990. So here it is showing that expose parameter one only, but here it is listening to the 1994 to the 1991. So that is not a mandatory that the container should listen to 1890 which is mentioned in the expose parameter. So but just we are giving it as an information only, that's it. So this is all about the expose parameter or the expose instruction in the Docker file. So hope you understood about this concept. So if you have any doubts or any suggestions, please post the comments below to this video. And if you like this video, please do support me by subscribing to my channel. Thank you.